Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
This is the Theater Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Seals, and these are intimate, personal conversations with the industry's biggest names. Welcome to episode 165. Our two guests for this episode are two people you may have heard of, Tommy Kail and James Monroe Iglehart. Two people with amazing credits attached to amazing bodies of work, and they have been friends for 15 plus years working with Freestyle Love Supreme, and they are both with us here today to talk about Freestyle Love Supreme as part of the ongoing FLS podcast takeover. We're going to feature a lot more people from Freestyle Love Supreme, so make sure that you keep coming back for the rest of the episodes of the takeover. I've had past members from FLS on the podcast before, including one of the founding members, Anthony Veneziali. I just cannot stress how much I love this group of people. They are all such genuinely nice people in real life that it just carries over onto what you see on stage and to these true and honest moments that carry into the show and make it this amazing thing and make it what it is. James and Tommy both talk about this in the episode. They come back to this concept of family. They come back and they love each other. And no matter what, no matter where they are in their careers, whenever they can, they come back and they perform and they get on stage, and money does not matter. They used to do it for peanuts. They would still do it for peanuts. Find me online on Instagram and Twitter at theater_podcast. Let me know you're listening. Find me on Facebook /official theater podcast. Leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. And now, everybody, please enjoy this episode with the amazing Tommy Kail and James Monroe Iglehart.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Today, we have not one but two Tony Award winners on this episode of the podcast, both the director and one of the first members to join Freestyle Love Supreme. Tommy Kail is a director and producer known for his amazing work on Hamilton, In the Heights, Grease Live, and Fosse, Verdon. James Monroe Iglehart has just reprised his role as Lafayette Jefferson in the newly reopened Hamilton on Broadway, originated Genie in Disney's Aladdin, and has other Broadway and TV credits including Memphis, Spelling Bee, Netflix's Maniac, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and the Tangled animated series. Here to talk all things FLS Academy and Freestyle Love Supreme, now reopening for a limited run on Broadway, beginning on October 7th, 2021. Tommy Kail, James Monroe Iglehart, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you very much.
We are in the building.
We are in the building.
In fact, James, you could not stop talking before we started recording, and then I introduce you, and all you could say is thank you very much.
Well, you know, because there's two of us. And look, people have heard me on the podcast before and know I talk a lot. And Tommy Kail is an enigma. I mean, the people who get to hear him talk are the people who work with him. But like, he's like, in a cool way, like the smooth brother who like he lets the actors and his work speak for him. Like, you get Tommy an interview, he's like, yeah, I did it, and he's gone. So the fact that he's here is like amazing.
All right, well, Tommy, then let's hear from you, because James is right. We hear so little from you in these things, and I know a lot about James. I've known James for years. We have never met before, and I'm so excited to talk to you just because of the amazing things you've done and the amazing things you're attached to. And so we are here to talk about Freestyle Love Supreme, which is returning to Broadway for another limited run beginning on October 7th. October 7th, get your tickets. This show is amazing. And I want to say you just won a 2020 Special Tony Award for the show, which is incredible. Congratulations there.
Well, so, I appreciate that, and I hope there is no recall.
There would not be recall. So talk to me about how you got involved directing a show that, in theory, like, when I think improv, I don't think, oh, this needs a director, because it's made up every night. But how did you get involved with this?
I got involved a long time ago when James and I were young. So I started working on the show with Anthony Veneziali, who I'd started a theater company with, who plays Two Touch and Freestyle, and Lin-Manuel in 2003, 2004. So Lynn and I were working on In the Heights starting in 2002 with this little theater company I had called Backhouse Productions, founded by me, Anthony, and our pal Neil and John. And we were working on In the Heights, and anytime there was a rehearsal, there was a break. And during that break, it was me dragging Lynn and Anthony back from the hallway to stop freestyling and get back to work. Cut to 18 years later, it's the same thing. So Lynn and Anthony kind of came up with this idea and then asked me to come see the show. We were all super tight at the time. Whereas now we hate each other. And I came to see the show, and I was really inspired by it. I love sketch comedy. I loved improv. I loved the idea of taking all of the elements of hip hop and freestyling and synthesizing and fusing them together with some of the things that we loved watching, and also tried to make a thing that we'd never seen or was inspired by some of the things we'd never seen. And so we started doing shows all around town and in lots of places that aren't there anymore. And in 2004, somebody saw the show when we were performing at the Pit, the People's Improv Theater, a gentleman by the name of John Steingart. And he invited us to do a run at Ars Nova. And that was like our first time being paid to work. I think, at that point, we've been working on In the Heights for 45 cents in a subway card, which we paid ourselves. And freestyle was really like our first gig. So it was in 2004. And then Chris Jackson, who was in the original Heights and also freestyle, was really tight with James. And one of the first things he said to me is, look, I'm going to introduce you to somebody. Don't say this in front of him, but I think he's just meet him. And so James walked in 2006, and my life has been better ever since. And then we started jamming after that. And now I'm on a podcast with you.
Right? It's crazy. That's nuts.
That's my life.
That's right.
And that was it. Nothing happened between that moment and right now.
Not a thing.
Not a thing. James, how would you work with Chris before that? How did he know that you wanted to, or that you would be good at this sort of thing?
Actually, Chris and we'd met really briefly. I came to New York. Like my first time in New York, I went to see a friend of mine, and her roommate just happened to be Chris Jackson, and he was a part of Lion King. And we said, "Hey, what's up?" And that was about it. And then I went back to the Bay Area. I was doing just a regional show in Marin, California, and he just happened to be the lead. I was one of the sidekicks for his character, and we were out in the parking lot and literally just shooting the breeze, and we were both talking about how our lives were right on what we both thought was the precipice of success. Right, we were so near it. It was at our fingertips. We just couldn't get to it. And Chris said something funny. He said, "Man, this In the Heights thing has to work." And I was like, "Yo, man, this Memphis thing has to work." And then this beat came on, and I start freestyling. He started freestyling. He's like, "Yo, I'm a part of this group called Freestyle Love Supreme." And my ego was big, and he was like, "Yo, I got this friend who's like the best rapper I've ever heard." And I was like, all right, whatever. He's like, "No, my man Lynn can rap about anything." I was like, "So can I." So we started just acting stupid. And he said, "Oh my gosh, you have to, meet these guys." And we stayed friends. Like usually when you do a regional show, you like meet somebody cool and you kind of move on and like your lives don't really cross anymore. But Jackson and I stayed friends, and then I was happened to be in Boston doing spelling bee, and Freestyle Love Supreme was having auditions because Lynn and Chris were about to start their journey on In the Heights off Broadway. And they brought me in, and I'll never forget that. That was the coolest audition ever. We came in, Tommy was there, all the brothers were there. We start rapping, and the usual audition, what happens, and once you're done, they kick you out and they call you back later. So all of a sudden, Tommy stops and he goes, "Okay, thanks everybody, it was great." And Utkarsh, or UTK, the INC, and I were both auditioned same night. And he goes, "UTK, James, stay for a minute." And he closes the door, and everybody else who auditions leaves. And Tommy just starts having a meeting. He's like, "Okay, so our next gig is at this college." And when I was like, are we in the group?
Wait, did we get hired? Did we just
and then
get
Tommy,
hired?
And Tommy, like, just as smooth, he said, "Oh, yeah, you're in." Okay, now back to what I was saying. And it's been like that for the past 16 years.
We have work to do, y'all. Come on.
Right, exactly.
I'm not going to go out and give him a bottle of water. Let's go.
Exactly. It's like, "Yo, I said you was in. Let's get to work. Let's go."
We got to go make $57, rapping for some college kids.
Gosh, listen. I think that's the fun part, Alan, honestly, about this whole thing moving to being on Broadway and also being able to come back to Broadway. This was something that you had a conglomerate of a group of very, very talented people who were doing this because at the time we didn't have anything else to do. Like we knew like In the Heights was happening or it hadn't, destroyed yet. Memphis was in the process, so Lynn is a substitute teacher writing. Chris is, working on little things. Utkarsh was trying to get to be seen on TV. Shockwave is like doing little gigs all around town. None of us knew what this was going to be. So once everything kind of blew up for our careers, we always came back home. It always felt good to come back to freestyle because there were no egos there. We knew our place there. We knew what we were supposed to do. It was never okay, I'm a star. No, it was like, okay, freestyle, we just do what we do. Never in a million years. I mean, we always joked. I mean, and we literally joked. We were always like, yeah, if we ever get to Broadway, they're going to kick us off the first night. We made these jokes. And then when we were there that first time, we were like, holy crap, are we really here? So it's that's why it's just a magic thing every time it happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, up until an hour ago, Alan, when we had a call with the entire group, and we're still making the same. It's like a time warp, and everybody's playing their part.
Yes.
I would say everybody is exactly themselves. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter what the situation, it will be revealed. And this group, and we've grown and expanded and met so many new people along the way, and that's also the joy. Is watching this thing get so much bigger than us, and obviously not trying to make some sort of natural segue into the Academy, but there is an opportunity now, I think, that the show is a little more well-known, and some of the stuff that we've done outside the show has had some volume turned up on it, and how people find it in that way. And I've worked on a bunch of stuff over the last 20 years. There's something about freestyle that's different from all of them, and James can attest to this, and you can too, I'm not being the show. You don't want to leave. Like that 20 minutes after a show, nobody leaves. They just hang. They want to talk about it. Did you see? Because they know it was just that night. They know it happened for them. And I think there's something about that. And when you create that many singularities over a 15-year period, there's a bond. I feel bonded to James in a way that's molecular now. It doesn't matter where we are, how long it's been since we talk. It's like we have this thing, and we feel that with the whole group.
Yeah.
Or I wonder how much, it seems like this perfect chemistry. You're talking molecular, right? And so I'll get into the chemistry part of it. And you as the director are sort of the alien leader, right? That is guiding this ship. And I've talked with Anissa, I've talked with Shockwave, I've talked with Anthony, and the common thread, and knowing James too, is just everybody is so, there's two things. One is just, it's genuine. Everyone is genuine. You have to be real. To be good at freestyling, you have to be in the moment. You got to be real. But then Anthony really drilled this home for me when I was talking with him especially about FLS Academy, was that it's all about having each other's back. It's about supporting each other. And James, you were talking a second ago about ego, and you check your ego, you leave it outside. And when you come together and like the group comes together on stage and everyone starts, if someone starts to mess up, it's not a mess up because it's a cue for somebody else. It's just like you turn it into something good. And that's a love. That is a love and a respect that I have never seen in another cast to the level that it is in Freestyle Love Supreme. And Tommy, I want to take this to you too. And how much of this is you bringing this to the show? Are you helping to, like, when you direct, are you directing this sort of feeling? Are you directing this emotion? Or are you just sort of like, you stand here, light cue here, light cue there? Like, how much of this is ethereal and how much of this is technical?
Well, your original question, which I realize I evaded, was about how you direct something like this. And I think of it as probably the closest thing I do to coaching. And I grew up playing sports. And when I started directing, I realized that there were a lot of corollaries: rehearsal and practice, pre-game and pre-show, the show and the game, the post-mortem, putting a group together, people that have never met having to unify towards a common goal and understand where they're aiming. All of those things are relevant in the theater or making film or television. And they're particularly relevant when you're playing team sports. Freestyle, really more than anything else I do, is as close to being a coach of a basketball team, because we can have set plays, but you also know, like, then you got to throw the ball up and they're going to play the game between the lines. I think that I can be impactful in our group in determining who comes into the room, who's on the squad, because I think if you get that energy right, then inherent in that is love and respect for each other, for the form. And that is the one thing and I've witnessed this countless times with James on stage. And I remember, you know, a specific show at the end of last year is when we do True, which is where you take a word from the audience, and it's really like where we unzip. This is who I am. And watching the group watch each other, that's the whole show for me. Because it is this unfailing and unflagging affection for each other, appreciation and admiration. A lot of the things you feel like in those early days of rehearsal, James, you know what I mean? Like where you sort of, when you're on a scripted show and you think, oh, wow, she can do that, he can do that. And then in freestyle, it's like that never goes away. Yeah. It's just always present because it's always tested because of the lack of a net. And so my job is to try to create a structure that makes people feel like they can be accessed, and that the thing that they are the most proud of, the thing that they don't get to do that they love doing, can be part of our show. And I think that engenders a spirit that is pervasive. And I think that's why the show finds the audience that it finds, because at the end of the day, like, I know how to light a show and I know how to stage a show, and those things come into play with freestyle, and it's now beautifully lit. But we were doing it with 2 light cues for a long time. And that was lights on, lights off. Lights off. You know what I mean? So that's not the secret sauce.
Well, that's I want to give a nod to Cody Renard Richard too, the stage manager, who is just up there. I mean, when you're watching the show, you think it's from the audience, it's flawless, right? Because the music is there. With Arthur the Genius is, I mean, just never misses a beat, literally. And then the light cues and everything moving all around in sync. You know, it's a well-oiled machine. And I know I'm gonna make somebody mad saying this. I forget who the light board op is for Fish, the band, right? But they always say like that guy's the unofficial additional member of the band because he's been touring with them and he just knows every single thing they're about to improvise. And when it comes to the whole crew around FLS, that's what I feel like. And I've seen the show multiple times, and it does not get old. I mean, and it sounds kind of cliche watching an improv show and saying it doesn't get old, but it's like you said, it's the love and it's the respect and it's the different, like you're getting a different story from different audience members and you're crafting a different show every night. And when the multiverse implodes because you've made so many variations of our universe, then that's on you. But, you know, we'll deal with that later. But
James snaps his fingers.
We are inevitable in his, you know. I think what's fun about FLS is that, you know, I've been a part of improv groups and improv classes and shows since I was around 18 years old. I think what makes the difference is, you know, there's always that realm of, you know, fearlessness and what are you going to say? I said, but what's funny about FLS is there's these 3 different levels. There is the improv level, but there's also the freestyle rapping level, and then there is the storytelling level. And I think what happens is people know they're about to see an improv show, so they know it's going to be made up. But when they see that the people in the group are musically creating the situation and then telling a story, a seamless story, and then when we want to, like you say, veer off into the universe and bring something that was never meant to be in the story into it, and then weave it back to what the person said. I think that's the magic, because they're sitting back they're literally going, they're on the edge of their seats, wondering if it's going to rhyme, wondering if they're going to get to the story, wondering how it's going to end or where we're going to take it. And by the time they get to the end of the show, their energy is so far up because they've been on the edge of their seat the whole time that when we end and leave, they're still at the end of their seat. They're like, they keep expecting, they're going to come back out and say something else, and we don't. So all they want to do is come back and see it again because they're watching like, I can't believe this is happening in real time in front of me. So I think that's one of the things that makes Freestyle Love Supreme so different from other improv groups is these different levels, and everybody's style is different. So it's not like, you know, when you have a rap group and they all rap together, everybody's style in our group is different. And even, you know, again, the way Tommy says, picking the right people with the right energy, the right coolness to be, for lack of a better word, to be a part of the family. You know, Cody goes with that because he has to have the attitude to deal with the crew of people that are Freestyle Love Supreme. And so I tease Cody all the time. Cody always goes like, yeah, I'm different. I'm like, no, you are just as nuts as us. Because if you weren't, you wouldn't be here. You have to be that kind of insane to live in our Freestyle Love Supreme circus.
Absolutely. So, Tommy, how do you like bringing in Anissa and bringing in the new round of people that are starting to grace the stage and coming back? Are you involved now with still, I guess, pulling people out of FLS Academy, or how does that whole process work?
Yeah, I mean, FLS Academy exists on its own, not necessarily as a training ground. But what we have found is some of the folks who come through there are announcing themselves as a particular kind of energy or talent that might be right for our group. Certainly, the majority of the people that go to FLS Academy are going because they want to meet James, are going because they want to go and have that experience, that sort of team building, being member of a community, having their story amplified. And that's really, I think in the ethos of that. But Anissa Folds, who came out of the Academy, also was around Shockwave and Jelly and Anthony. And they were just like tugging on me, like, you got to see her. And it's like, if all three of them agree on anything, like, which I've never heard in 18 years, I'm gonna listen to that. But yes, I am involved day to day. And, the thing about this show, which is so interesting, is that, I wear more hats on this show than I wear on any other show that I do. Like I produce and direct in television a little bit, but on this one, because I was there when we made the show, because I'm one of the producers of the show, and because I'm the director of the show, I find that all of those parts of me are accessed, which is what brings me joy. But I love introducing new members of our community to the group, either in the audience or like I meet someone from another gig and I'm like, hey, you can come through. Tarek, who is a new member of our group, was, did like, some work on Fosse Verdon in the first episode. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, oh, wait, that, and we might have even talked about it then, we might not have. And then someone brought his name. I was like, oh, you mean the guy from that? And then all of a sudden, like, we're all on a group Zoom and like, he's in the group, and he came through and he jammed with us and he went out of town and put the time in. And I love that kind of expansion. Same with Kayla, with Anissa. And it's really one of the fun things. James and I always meet people and we're like, oh, you can take it maybe. We're now doing our Chris Jackson in the parking lot conversation. Yeah.
We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned for more of the episode. I love the representation, actually, that talking about everybody bringing their stories and whatnot, and it's all different presentations of gender and race, and the art form and the love and the respect, keep going back to that, it just transcends everything, and you're breaking down stereotypes, like to see Kayla Milady beatbox is otherworldly. I mean, Shockwave is great, but like, he's a dude. You expect a dude to be able to beatbox. A lady to come out like that, like Kayla Milady, just phenomenal. And then you have different, like I said, the race representations is just wonderful, and it's just it's brotherly, sisterly love and respect up there nonstop. And I think the audience attaches onto that. The audience attaches to something that is greater than probably what they're aware of, right? They want to escape. They want to be distracted by some positive energy. It's energy that you guys are putting out there, and I actually really love. I don't know if this is part intentional just to prevent bootlegs, but putting the phones inside. What are those bags called that? You can't use
Yonder pouches.
The Yonder pouches. Like, you obviously can't record it, and I understand the purpose behind that, because you want it to exist once and never again. That's a part of improv. But I think part of that too is I saw somebody online on Instagram the other day was like, I don't meditate, but I do watch TV with my phone on the other room sometimes. Does that count? And so that's sort of the same thing here, is that when knowing you can't connect to this device that keeps you outside, it keeps your mind distracted, I think it forces you to be present in a way that normally most people aren't in other shows.
When my wife went to go see the show, she came to opening. She said it was so funny how, when theater starts, people are all talking. You're talking to everybody. And then because you can't use your phone, once the lights go down, there's only one thing you can focus on. And so everybody's having this awesome collective experience together. And also our show doesn't have a story. So the stories that people are hearing are the stories in that building. So that's what makes it so interesting to them, because the stories they're hearing are the stories that are around them. So the person next to them may have told a story and we've taken that story and amplified it. Or they've told a story and then we've taken it, rewound it, fixed it for them, and then given it back to them as a gift. Like, you messed up. We're going to give it back to you in a second. We're going to give it back to you in a second chance. And here's what should have happened to your life. They all experience that together and they walk out with this unique story experience that no one else will have. So whenever you go to a FLS show, it's always like, oh my God, you don't know what you're going into. But when you leave, you can explain it to somebody, but they won't get it unless they see it. And of course, when someone's that infectious, they have to go see it, which is what makes people come back. Because they're like, I know it's not going to be the same. What are they going to do this time? And that's just something about the magic that happens when all of us get together.
Absolutely. And James, you are also, most of the time, I think, every time I've known you do FLS on Broadway, you've also been doing another show at the same time, also on Broadway.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the cast, right? Because there's the core cast. There, every time I've gone, it's always been Anthony and Utkarsh was there, and Anissa and Shockwave and Arthur.
And Jelly Donut.
And Jelly Donut, right.
Yes.
And then there's always 1 to 2, sometimes... I guess, are there ever more people? But how do you decide who and when goes in the rotating guests?
Usually they call us and go, are you free? and we go, yeah, I'm free today. No, I'm not free tomorrow. But yes, I'm free right now. And if something happens where, the planets align and some god-awful reason Chris Jackson and I are in the same show, that's a whole different ball game. That audience leaves going, I don't know if I want to see the show again, but damn it, whatever I saw just then was amazing. Because he and I are like 2 brothers who didn't know we needed another brother, and we bicker like brothers. James Iglehart and Chris Jackson are deep friends, and we bicker. J Soul and C Jack are deep friends, and they bicker, but they work so well, literally in harmony together on stage. And so basically, it's just that those of us who have other gigs, we love Freestyle Love Supreme. This is our family. This is our core. This is our home. And so when they call and we go, yes, I'm free that day, we are running to the theater to do it because it's so much fun. It's the most freeing moment, because you don't have to think. You don't have to think, but at the same time, you have to think. You have to listen, but you can all that pretense gets thrown away. All the George Washingtons, all the Lafayettes, all the awards, TV shows, all that mess gets thrown away because you have no net. You can't hide behind, look, I'm on CBS's Bull. No one gives a crap. They want the story they're about to hear. I used to be the Genie. No one cares. They want to see what's happening right now. So you have to focus. And when all of us have the time, I think one time, Tommy said it best. Before we got to Broadway, there was a crazy moment where all of our schedules just happened to align at Ars Nova. And Ars Nova is a very tiny place. And we had the Wu-Tang Clan version of freestyle on stage. Everybody and their mama was on stage. We were cramped up in little corners on stage. And we were having the best time because we were all together and we laughed. I think we laughed more than the audience because we were so happy watching our other friends act completely stupid. There's nothing like watching the man who was given every award known to man act like a turkey. To watch Lin on stage, like, that's Lin-Manuel Miranda. He doesn't have to do this, but this is what he's doing. And you can't help but crack up laughing. You're like, yep, this is happening. So I think, once they ask us and we're like, yeah, we're free, we're in, we're there. This is just what happens.
That's what I was gonna go back to was again, you guys, what you said at the very beginning of this interview was that you started, all of you became friends and all of you were doing this before the awards, before the shows, before everything. Like, you've all seen so much success, all of you, and now you're coming back. That was going to be my next question, is just why come back? Why come back? Because you've got so much, you got these busy schedules and these families now, and you come back to this show. And no matter what, and I remember the last show I saw that you were in, you had done, it was like, I think it was Saturday night. So I came to see the late FLS, and you had already finished a 2-show day of Hamilton because it was a Saturday. So you did a 2-show Hamilton and then came and did a 3rd show on a Saturday for FLS. And I didn't understand at the time, like, why you would want to just put yourself out there like that. But now after hearing the story, it makes complete sense. Like, that's family. It's going home.
It is.
He loves applause. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's true. Yeah. That's also. I mean,
why get something twice that you can have 3 times?
3 times. that's honest to God true. That's true. They know me. I love.
There's a hole in the bucket. You know what? There's a hole in the bucket, and we're all trying to fill it.
Yeah, but I think the fun that you don't do anything you don't like to do. I mean, yes, you do. Like, if you go to a job and you don't like your job, it's like golden handcuffs. Well, I get paid so much for this job, I've got to do it. But then there are things that you do just for the love of it. And we were doing, and Tommy's right, we were doing FLS when we were getting paid, Q-tips and Puma sweats. And, that's an old line from a Third Base album. We were getting like no money at a mall rapping about a different drink I won't bring up, and we were doing it because we loved it. We all got on a train, went to the mall now, and did this. And these are the same dudes who are on Broadway doing this because we love it. We wouldn't do it if we didn't love it, And when we all come back, we all laugh. I mean, I think one of my favorite moments of being on Broadway is every single person that is a guest star or a principal in FLS now has something in their contract for their own dressing room. Yeah, when we get to Freestyle Love Supreme, we are all cramped up together and laughing like we are back in college. Like, oh, okay, I'm in the room with you. I want in the room with you. And we start arguing. Okay, well, you go downstairs this time. I'm gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna talk to him. And we are rooming together. And I know stage managers like, oh my God, these children. And we are grown people. And just because we love it, we get into that building and we all, just love being there. And then once we get out, we go back to our separate gigs that we've worked so hard to get to. But this is the core. And this kind of gets us energized to go back to those other things. It kind of opens your mind up.
Something that Anthony told me that he was working with on we'll call it the science project, right, where he's going into the fMRI machine to have his brain scanned while he was freestyling versus reading, and then scientifically worked with the scientists to prove that freestyling lowers inhibition. It activates this part of your brain, or deactivates rather, that this part of your brain that lowers inhibition. And I guess taking that one step further, right? You have been doing this for 18 years now, right, Tommy? It's been forever. And freestyling and improvising and creating and literally rewriting your brains to have less inhibition and to be connected and to be open and to be more receptive. And I guess, James, for you, thinking back on what this show has done for you, what this camaraderie has done for you, do you feel like it's changed you to a way where it's helped you get roles like Genie, where you're just like, I'm putting it out there, I'm improvising, I'm taking a chance, and I'm going to be accepted?
Yeah, I think this show you have to be fearless. And also you have to not be afraid to look silly and look ridiculous. And I think that also helps with storytelling. When you're telling a story, you have to play everything, whether it be the star of the show or the flower in the background, and you have to be okay with that. And this show allows you to have that. It also, the double-edged sword is when the lights aren't on, you improv at 7-Eleven and your wife wants to throw things at you because you have no inhibition, so you just start doing crap. And she's like, must you do this here? Please. She's like praying that FLS comes back. Please do this so you can stop improving at Burger King. No one cares that you can rap about fries. Just please stop. So yeah, but it does open your mind up and kind of let you be free enough to like just be whatever it is you need to be. So in every situation, like for instance, with Hamilton, we looked at it and we were like, okay, great, let's bring it back. And I walked in with new eyes and you're like, okay, what else do I see that I didn't see the last time we were here? And Tommy gives us that gives the freedom to go, we'll try something, show me something. And I'll show him something. He'll go, yes, I like that. Actually, this, I like what you did, but it doesn't really work with this, but try this. So it kind of gives you the freedom to go, let me just try something. And if they don't like it, they'll tell me. But most of the time we get into a situation in a theater aspect where I don't want to do anything that's going to make the director or a producer mad. They're going to tell me, no, just do it. And if they don't like you, they'll tell you. You got hired, so just be free to do stuff. And FLS definitely helps with that. If you look at all the people in our group, top to bottom, and you see their other work, it's fearless. It's absolutely fearless, their other work.
I was wondering if it was like a, which came first, chicken and egg scenario, right? Like, are the fearless people the ones that are successful, or are they getting successful because they are fearless? And so, like, Tommy, I guess for you as a director, and you've done TV and film and Broadway, and so you kind of got the different range of, I mean, literally, you've probably seen thousands and thousands of people audition for you over the years. Like, what stands out for you the most when it comes to these sort of characteristics that you're looking for?
Oh, I feel like this lack of inhibition that James is speaking to is certainly something that is palpable. There's a lot of thinking, that I now put into vibe. Like, what does it feel like in the room when someone walks in the room? Like, what's the energetic field? And, I appreciate people that make bold choices. I appreciate people that are prepared and then willing to put that down and play, that feel like they are, they're hungry to express and also not already dialed it into rigid in what it is that they're coming in with. And each time with casting, it's a feeling. There's something in your gut that says, I want to see more. I want to lean in, or I want to continue to explore. And in that way, whether it's a scripted show or whether it's FLS, that's the same feeling. There's so much of my job that is the same on this than as if I was doing a play that was 100 pages long or a musical revival or a new musical. And so those are the things that I tend to sort of be magnetized towards. And there's no feeling quite like not knowing who's going to play a part, and then all of a sudden you meet them and they walk in the door and it's like, oh, okay, check, next. You know what I mean? Like, and it's often very immediate. It's you can, like you're drawing up the contract sometimes before the song's even over. You know what I mean? Or something like that. You're like, oh, okay, this part's done. So that's always a wonderful feeling.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You had mentioned, you guys were telling the story about when James auditioned, and like, you're like, all right, you guys stay.
I was like, send him to hair and makeup. Why are we still talking about that?
Yeah. That sounds phenomenal. It makes so much sense, and it comes across too. It comes across in everything that I've ever seen that you've created, that you've had your part in, Tommy. Because like I saw the original cast of Hamilton too. Before, I want to say I saw it before the soundtrack came out, so I saw it when it was super.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was one of the original, and like that cast is putting together the cast, and I think it's. I remember something my mom told me actually when I was a kid, and we were watching a Ben Stiller movie, and she was like, notice how Ben Stiller puts his friends in all of his movies, and there's a reason for that, and I noticed that now, like that was kind of the turning point for me as a kid when I realized acting could be a profession and that they were real people, because I realized, oh yeah, if you like working with somebody, if you're actually friends with somebody, you just want to keep making things, you want to keep creating things, and then all of you have been working together and creating so much nonstop for years now, and it doesn't stop. I mean, you look at like Lynn and Chris Jackson, right? It's like, oh, Lynn puts Chris in everything, and Lynn's like, if I'm working, you're working, Chris. Like, it's always going to happen. And then, James, you are always in everything with all these guys, and Tommy, your name is all over everything that touches all of these guys. Like, it's funny because you said you just got off a Zoom meeting an hour ago with everybody. And it's like you go back to that mentality. You go back to that place of comfort and you have with these people, and that's what you do with family. no matter what you try to do, you always go back to the same thing you are with your family.
Yeah, and as we all know, like when you have your role in a family, part of the challenge is like how you evolve and expand beyond that. And sometimes like it's the work within any group to say like, oh, that person is different than who they were when I met them, and to let that expansiveness also have a place. And that's something I think we've been working on a lot in freestyle these last few years. It's been really thrilling. You know, the idea that we're going to be on Broadway and then go straight into a national tour. And by the time we go to that national tour, I hope we have 4 or 5 new members who can go and start playing these cities, you know? And so, you know, then by the time you finish that, you've got 20, 25 people that are sitting, you know, in this pool of, of folks that know how to get up on stage and do this particular show. And I look forward to the time when we can do 2 freestyles simultaneously. You know, I mean, it's really, it's really something that I feel like, especially with the Academy and the work that's happening there, is a reminder of how the show can live off stage too, you know, and how it can go into your own life, your work life, you know, your relationships, you know, how you learn to communicate. And as James said, you learn to listen.
So if you're going to do 2 freestyles at the same time, you said earlier that this is the one show that you've got your hands in the most creatively in the different roles. Are you gonna end up having to relinquish control at any point of any of these roles, or is this
sure? And yeah, I mean, let me say that more clearly too, because like I would say all the things that I work on, I try to find the way to be the right size and shape for what the thing needs. And as James knows, you know, I started working on Hamilton in 2011. I'm 10 years in. Obviously, the way that I'm working on it today is different than I was working on it in 2015 or different in 2011. But I've also been at rehearsal with James for the last 4 days, you know, I mean, like, and so when the moment needs it, and, you know, in the week before I was at different companies, but one of the things I love is finding and empowering other artists, especially directors, because directors don't get to work together. One of the beautiful things about Hamilton is I work with 7 other directors who over the last few years, you know, have been employed by Hamilton, that live with the shows. Mm-hmm. And so they're there day to day. And so my job is not to be there day to day. And if I make something that needs me to be there day to day to succeed, then I failed. That's how I feel about all the companies I make. I shouldn't be essential at a certain point in terms of the day-to-day relationship I have with the company. It should be able to form, hopefully with me, and then exist on its own with other folks that are there to help, you know, be there to support and be a ballast in any way that they can. So with freestyle, you know, Patrick, who has been my associate on it, and I didn't really have an associate on it for so many years, but we're also bringing Cody over to the directing side. And so Cody's going to help get the tour up. Yeah, absolutely. Oh,
good for him. Good for him.
Yeah. So, and I want to find more directors, you know, to help maintain this. So the hope is that you're then creating employment opportunity. I mean, that's something I think about a lot. You know, like, if we do this show, like, that means the booth theater has its lights on, which means that crew is going to work. That wardrobe crew, that lighting crew, our crew, you know, making 40 or 50 jobs, that's real coming out of a pandemic, just like it's real before there's a pandemic. So that's really meaningful to me as well. And why the producers and I are really committed to trying to find as many opportunities to have freestyle exist, because it's more people going to work, doing a thing, hopefully, that they have pride in and that they love.
I love that. And, you know, you can take, all joking aside, you take the family metaphor back to this, and you're creating an entity, creating a child, something that is going to, I'm going to misquote Hamilton here, but something that will, what is the lyric, James? Something that will outlive you.
Yeah, I want to make something outlive me.
Yeah, yeah.
And also the fun thing is, with the new members, with the new family members, you know, you have to look at we make the joke all the time that Freestyle Love Supreme has been together for 18 years, and I've been a part of it for 15. And to be a part of something for 15 years is a milestone and awesome. But then there's a moment where you look up there and you go, damn, I saw a picture of them brothers. They look a little bit older than they did before. You know. James, I could have sworn James's goatee was black when he first joined this group. So you need some new blood in there to be, you know, you need new blood there to keep it going, because just in case those of us, not that we can't do it, but if we're busy doing other things, the Freestyle Love Supreme name, the group, the family, the energy, the show that has had such a great reputation will live on. And with new members like Anissa, Anissa is a pillar of our group now. She's a beast and an amazing, in all best sense of the word of beast as a performer. She's fantastic. And you have, Kail, Kaiser Rose to step on stage. Shockwave is the foundation of Freestyle Love Supreme. But when Shock, for the first time, could sit on the audience and actually give notes to the show because there's someone up there that he trusts to keep the beat as well as the foundation of the stories going. So we have these new people. So we'll be able to have two shows in two different places, and the audience will not be disappointed because you're not coming to see, I'm coming to see Lynn, I'm coming to see James, I'm coming to see Chris. You're coming to see Freestyle Love Supreme. And in that experience, in that wanting to see that show and those stories that only happen on that night, that's why the new people are there, to be able to create that experience wherever we go. And so not only will it be able to give jobs to the people in those theaters around the country, but also those audiences will get to see the experience, and they'll all be able to, be on social media saying, oh my God, who did you see? Well, I saw this crew. Well, I saw this crew. And then it'll make them want to switch back and go and see, the interchangeable of the things. I mean, that's why you need the new folks there to keep this energy going. And you find it's kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid. You find all these people who drink the Kool-Aid and believe the same thing we believe, and believe in the silliness we believe, and believe in the telling a good story, giving a good show, and giving hope through making things up. And that'll just last on back when it's like 30 years from now, and we're looking at it in the audience when they do the whole, Kennedy Center honors for like freestyle, and all of us up there with like things, watching young people rapping, and we're like, we used to do that. That's amazing. Remember that time? And Lynn has the half row. Well, actually his dad has all his hair, but Chris looks like Sanford and Son. He has a half row, and he's back there with gray hair. I'll say this: Tommy and Lynn will always have their hair, and the rest of us, I don't know. But when we see those young people, doing it, and we're like, oh, see, it's still going. That's what you want. You want that. Our show can do that.
Yeah, forever. I love that. It's such an amazing show. It's different every time. Everybody, please get your tickets. Go see it again on starting October 7th, 2021. I want to wrap up here with the 3 standard closing questions I ask everybody, and you get to both answer them because there's 2 of you.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's right. Tommy, let's start with you. Very simply, just what motivates you?
Community.
James?
Creation. I love creating things.
Ooh, I like that. All right. Then, James, you go first. What advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
I would say don't worry so much about what everybody else thinks. Go with your heart. If it feels right, do that. If you worry too much about what everybody else thinks, you won't move. You'll be too worried about, I don't want to bother them. I wonder what they'll think. Don't worry about that. Just do it and go forward. You'll learn on the way.
Tommy?
You can make stuff anywhere. So make as much as you can. That's the way that you learn how to have craft and apply your trade. So there's always a stage if you look at it the right way.
Ooh, I like that. Burger King, 7-Eleven.
Well, he liked your
That's
first one, James, and my second one. Okay,
right, exactly. He'll edit them together so it sounds like 3 good questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
All
from
right,
these 6, he'll get 3 good ones.
Right.
Last question then, Tommy. We're going to start with you. This is hard. If you can only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
A piece of theater?
Any show you want. Interpret as you will.
Oh boy. If it was a movie, I'll say that's the show I'm going to go see. It'd be It's a Wonderful Life. And if James is in it, I'd say Freestyle Love Supreme.
James, what would you see?
If it's a movie, sadly, I probably would. I love Princess Bride. So just something cool about that. I would probably say. And if it's a show, Because it's different all the time. I know this sounds cliche. I'd probably say Freestyle Love Supreme, because I don't have to worry about it being the same thing all the time.
That's what I was gonna say.
It's always going to be good, because the great thing about freestyle is we reference every musical, every movie, every TV show, every magazine that you could possibly think of. So I was like, I know I'll get the gist of something if I watch the show. So that's probably what I would say.
I love that. All right, so Tommy, where can we find you on social media?
You can't.
You're not online. You don't do social. All right. Well,
let me actually. You know what? Look. What's great about ladies and gentlemen? What's great about this interview is this. Tommy spoke. You are blessed. Tommy spoke.
There's lots of places I speak too much.
Tommy spoke, and he spoke to you. So y'all should feel mad blessed. Tommy's too busy for social media. Tommy
Do you
ain't got
hear
time
how
for
fast
that.
I answered that, James?
Yeah,
you asked me the question. I'm gonna tell you.
Nope, I'm not.
You won't.
James, I know you're online. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, because obviously I have nothing better to do with my time. Tommy got stuff to do. You can find me on Instagram at JM Iglehart, and you can find me on Twitter at James M. Iglehart. And I'm gonna start doing stuff in life so I don't have to do social media, so I can be like Tommy.
And don't forget, there's a Freestyle Love Supreme documentary on Hulu.
Yes.
You had to watch one thing the rest of your life. How about a movie about?
Freestyle Love Supreme? I will say this though. I know we're leaving, but the great thing about that is more people I've heard that people think that success comes out of nowhere. They had never seen a broke Chris Jackson and Lin-Manuel before in their life. And when they saw this movie, they were like, oh my God, you mean there was a time when they didn't know what they were going to do? And I'm like, yes, everybody starts going, God, I hope this works. And if you don't take anything from the documentary says you could take something that people didn't know existed, create it, and if you keep going at it and try to perfect it, it comes to a place where it'll be like this. That's what makes this our story so cool, because we didn't just pop out because, In the Heights happened. This thing has been going, these boys have been working for a long time, and it's just them working hard and their successes and failures that made these amazing successes. So that's what's so beautiful about it. So, this is what we do. This is life. This is how we create.
That's beautiful. That is a wonderful place to end. So I want to thank you both so much for being here. Tommy, I know you don't do many interviews, so really thank you. James, you do so many interviews.
I'm everywhere.
But thank you too. Thank you too. Thank you both. Freestyle Love Supreme, FLS Academy, Freestyle Love Supreme documentary on Hulu. Everybody just go out there, immerse yourself in this love and respect and family. It is amazing. Thank you both. I've enjoyed this so much.
Thanks, Alan.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.